The cold case of Garrett Bardsley is one that still has no clear answer. There are plenty of unsolved missing persons cases out there of people going missing in the wilderness. Some show up days later after a bad encounter with the weather or terrain. Some show up dead via animal attacks or abductions. Then some never show up at all. In this video, we're going to look at the unexplained Garrett Bardsley story to see what might have happened. There are some logical theories out there, but we're going to go deeper into some of the weirder ideas. There has to be an explanation, but what really happened? Garrett Bardsley was a 12-year-old Utah Boy Scout on a camping trip with his father, Kevin. They began their trip on Thursday, August 19, 2004, and planned to leave that Saturday. On Friday, the pair woke early to go fishing at a lake close to their camp in the Uinta Mountains. He walked back to the camp alone, but never arrived. The mystery remains unsolved. As always, let's start with what we know before we take a closer look at what we don't know. The first important detail is the story of his disappearance, as told by his father. Kevin claims that Garrett wanted to head back to camp after getting his clothes wet while fishing. Kevin agreed to let him go back as it was only around 150 to 200 feet away. Another camper claims no more than 150 paces. After about 20 minutes with no sign of his return, Kevin went to the camp to check on his son. No one had seen him, and he had seemingly gone missing on that short trail between the lake and the campsite. A search party headed out to find him, aware that he was wearing a black sweatshirt, reversible black and red sweatpants, and white Converse, and carrying a black and chrome fishing pole. More than 200 volunteers took part at first, combing the area for clues. They soon scaled this back to expert search teams and dogs. After 9 days, they called it off. To this day, all they found was one sock by a boulder around half a mile away from the scene. Clearly, something strange happened here because these basic case notes don't add up. That's why we wanted to cover this missing person case today. There are far more theories than answers in this case, and one very odd twist to the tale. If you love these sorts of unexplained mysteries, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay up to date with our content. For now, let's dive into that first theory. This would be the obvious line of inquiry in a case like this. A child mysteriously vanishes while out on a pre-planned trip, and we automatically assume foul play. This is where we need to look at the potential culprits based on the circumstances. First, we have the father. We have his word that Garrett got up to leave the camp and failed to return. It's his story that he was missing for so long before he went to check. He insists that he had his eyes on Garrett pretty much the entire time and can't figure out what happened. He watched him walk around the lake and even shouted directions. Would a murderer give a kid a head start like this and announce their presence? Not unless the whole story was a fallacy. The lack of evidence is telling, however, so we don't buy this idea. The alternative theories for murder or kidnap are that it was a member of the camp or someone else that happened to be on the mountain at the time. There is no evidence that anyone other than the 18 scouts and 6 or 7 adults were in the vicinity. It is possible that one of the children or parents left the camp and attacked him, but only if they knew he was heading back and could formulate a plan in such a short space of time. The police believe there isn't enough evidence for murder or kidnapping and place no blame on his father or the other campers. This makes sense, as there was no sign of a struggle and no one heard any cries for help. So, if we are ruling out another human as the culprit here, what actually happened? This is a common theory based on the fact that Garrett was seemingly alone in the wilderness. It is possible that he came across a wild creature and it attacked him, such as a cougar or a bear. However, there are flaws to this idea along the same lines as the murder theory. No one heard him cry for help or any animal cries. There was no sign of an attack, and there were no remains of a kill. A whole body, clothes and all, doesn't just vanish in a cougar attack. So, what's left? This is the theory that has the most weight to it right now, even if it isn't perfect. The idea stems from the fact that the search party found one item of clothing half a mile away by a boulder. They suspect that Garrett took a different route to find some shelter and stopped by the boulder. But why would he go out of his way when the campsite was so close? It seems unlikely that he lost his way when he knew the route back to the nearby campsite and was so experienced out in nature. A possible answer there is that he was out for an adventure of his own and had no intention of heading back to camp at all. Maybe he deliberately got wet as a ruse and took the opportunity to go off alone. This would explain the final theory that might be the most likely. There is the belief that the reason search parties found no remains or even a fishing pole is that Garrett entered a cave or crevice and become inaccessible. If he was stuck there, he may easily have died from exposure overnight. The combination of his wet clothes and the low temperature of 18 degrees would have been a recipe for disaster. Now, as promised before, there's a deeper reason why we chose to cover this unsolved cold case on this channel. This unexplained disappearance has an additional mysterious layer because of the additional missing persons reports in the area. The previous year, a mother and daughter disappeared from a nearby lake. Their bodies were eventually found almost a year later. Then there was the case of another Boy Scout in 2005. 11-year-old Brennan Hawkins was found dirty and confused on a trail about a mile and a half from where he disappeared in the high Uintas. He was lucky to turn up a few days later. The sad truth is that we probably won't ever find out what happened to Garrett now. It's been almost 20 years, and no one has reported finding any sign of any remains or that missing fishing pole. If he was abducted or murdered, the culprit did such a good job of hiding any evidence that they will never face justice. If it was an animal attack, it was a very quiet and sneaky animal that covered its tracks impeccably well. If he did go off on an adventure and ended up in a crevasse, it would take a lot to find anything now. There may also be no connection at all to the other people that vanished in the area. The high Uintas are a dangerous place for anyone lacking skills and experience. The mother and daughter may have gotten lost or attacked by an animal. The Boy Scout may have fallen and gone the wrong way in his confused state. The shared location could merely be a coincidence. Or you could go along with the missing 411 idea. This suggests that something abducts and kills hundreds of people in the American park system, and there's a massive cover-up. It's far-fetched, but we can't deny that a lot of people do vanish out there. This is a fascinating case with many layers to the story. On the surface, we could easily disregard this as a child that wandered off and died from exposure. The evidence does lean that way. But when we add in those other disappearances, there seems to be something else going on here. What do you reckon? Were all these people unfortunate victims of the terrain and weather? Or perhaps you believe there is something paranormal forcing all these victims off course? Let us know your views in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and share this with other fans of unexplained mysteries. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.